Well, it's a new year, and New Year's can be hopeful, but they can also be challenging. So as we emerge from the partisan mania that's been dangerously fomented in the wake of the 2020 election, we need to recognize how seriously our political institutions have been damaged and then get to work right away, rebuilding and restoring the guardrails of our republic. 4 years of defiant, divisive, disruptive demagoguery by Donald Trump has been a train wreck for our political institutions, our democracy, and left our governmental structures battered, shattered, and in need of urgent care and recovery. Our founding fathers never imagined a leader who would so callously mock their carefully crafted system of divided powers or manipulate their precious Constitution like some modern Mad King George, the British monarch, against whom the colonies rebelled in 1776. But just as the coronavirus has exposed the shortcomings in the American healthcare system, Donald Trump has exposed flaws and silences in our fundamental laws, framework omissions that need to be filled and fixed by bipartisan solutions. Let me give you a couple of examples. First of all, reveal income tax returns. For the last half century, since Richard Nixon in the 1970s, presidents and presidential candidates of both parties have voluntarily revealed their income tax returns, except for Donald Trump. Now, that can't go on. And why is that important? Because we have more and more millionaire candidates, businessmen like Donald Trump, who have global connections and all kinds of links. And we, the voters, need to know beforehand whether or not our aspiring leaders are beholden to somebody else, some foreign power, some corporate cronies, some special interest. And so it should no longer be up to personal option. Congress needs to pass a law that mandates the disclosure of income tax returns on day one, the day a candidate starts to raise money to run for the White House. Second, let's get foreigners out of our elections. The founding fathers were worried about that. They worried about what George Washington called the insidious wiles of foreign influence corrupting the new American Republic. And so they passed the Emoluments Clause, a prohibition against governmental officials accepting any pay, any emoluments, any benefits from a foreign power, king or prince or whoever. They would be appalled to have seen Donald Trump publicly call for the Russians to hack his opponent Hillary Clinton's emails, or the back-channel connections of Trump confidant Roger Stone with WikiLeaks to find out when the Russian intelligence was next going to dump harmful emails on Hillary, or Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian attorney in the middle of the campaign to get dirt on Hillary. What Congress needs to do is to expand the Emoluments Clause to cover not just government officials in office, but candidates and their campaigns running for the presidency. No one should get any foreign help whatsoever. Money, hacking, social media, whatever it is, you name it, absolutely nothing, period. And next, stop and combat presidential corruption and conflicts of interest. That was another concern of the Founding Fathers in Philadelphia in 1787, corruption. Corruption dominated their debates. It was mentioned all the time. It's what motivated them in many cases to divide and separate powers to curb the possibilities of somebody corrupt taking over everything. But who in the 18th century could have imagined the Trump swamp, the multitude of Trump conflicts of interest, the many ways in which there was a mingling of Trump's business interests and his presidential activities, like inviting Chinese President Xi Jinping not to the White House, but to his private estate at Mar-a-Lago, dragging along with him scores of Chinese officials, American officials, the media, security, all of whom had to pay Mar-a-Lago for the rooms and their meals and other facilities. And the same thing when Trump went up to his Bedminster, New Jersey golf club and then charged the Secret Service $650 a night for a room and $17,000 for a cabin or a cottage for several Secret Service agents. Donald Trump left the White House and visited his personal properties more than 400 days in his presidency, all the while earning money for the Trump Organization, a massive conflict of interest. And that would be something that would bother the Founding Fathers, and they would be behind the idea of having a new law that says any president must divest of any commercial interest that could benefit him from doing business with the government and particularly from any presidential activities. Next, curb and limit presidential pardons. No president should be able to think about pardoning himself, his family, his business associates, his campaign associates, his White House staff. And Trump's recent actions illustrate why action is necessary on that. 5 members of the Trump campaign team were indicted and convicted by courts of lying to investigators and trying to block the investigation into the Russian involvement in the 2016 campaign. And all 5 have just been pardoned by Donald Trump. Corrupt as hell is what Republican Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska called it. Anthony Weissman, lead prosecutor for special counsel Robert Mueller, says Trump is using pardons to put himself above the law. Remember we used to say nobody's above the law, not even the president? Well, that's what Weissman says is going on. How? Trump dangles pardons, lets his operatives know that he's got pardons so they can safely protect him by lying to investigators. And even if they go to jail, he'll get them out of jail with a pardon. And that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what he did. And unless Congress plugs that loophole, any future president can feel emboldened that they can get away with political murder and no one can effectively investigate them while they're in office. Now, those are just a few of the vital steps that need to be taken. But if you want to see a fair and honest and open democracy during your lifetime and passed on to your kids and grandkids, then now is the time to call on your members of Congress, call on your senators to get them to enact the kind of reforms that I'm talking about. Get on board. Join me. And thanks.